The daily meal production record is required for the National School Lunch Program. The information is to be recorded daily and kept in the school's food service area. The production record is a management tool that will provide information for planning, producing, and serving daily school lunches. It is a required document used to determine nutritional adequacy, assess food safety practices, and support the claim for reimbursable meals. All completed production records are to be kept on file for 3 years, plus the current school year. The purpose of the transported meal or catered production record is to provide adequate documentation for reimbursable lunches served at a facility with limited on-site food preparation facilities. The meals are brought in or catered from an outside production site. The school food authority at the receiving site must document the catered reimbursable meals and provide all necessary information needed for the administrative review regulations and procedures. This includes information for meal counting and claiming of reimbursable meals, assessing nutritional value, and ensuring food safety. At minimum, the following information must be recorded on official documents. For example, the production records, delivery tickets, HACCP plans, all of which must remain on file for 3 years, plus the current year. The documentation must include sufficient menu planning information for the catered site. This is separate from the meals served at the production kitchen, so that an administrative review can be conducted when needed. This includes total planned student meals, quantity planned meal components for lunch, quantity of food available on the day of service, and number of meals served to students and adults. The information recorded at the receiving site must show the students received adequate meal components or menu items to support the reimbursable meal claim. A complete HACCP food safety plan must be in place both at the preparation site and the receiving site and actively used. Food safety practices must be monitored and recorded sufficiently to show that the HACCP guidelines were followed. Because the meal components are different at breakfast and lunch, there are 2 production records, one for each meal. All forms other than these DPI prototype forms must be approved in writing by the state agency prior to use. The form must be completed thoroughly and accurately daily to support your student meal reimbursement claim. All items required as part of your HACCP plan are printed in italics in these instructions and must be completed daily. Depending on the operation, there are 2 tools that can be used to document reimbursable meals at catered sites: the transported meal production record and meal delivery ticket. Talk with your child nutrition consultant to determine which works best for your operation. Ultimately, the school food authority is responsible for assuring that production records are completed. However, the catering contract may include language that defines the caterer's responsibility, too. Although each situation is unique, there are 2 options often used for recording meal service and production for SFAs receiving meals from an off-site kitchen. One using only the production record, and a second method using the production record along with a delivery ticket. We will look at both of these at the end of this presentation after we discuss the transported meal production record in detail. Let's get started by going over each section. In Section 1, enter the menu plan for the day. Record any substitutions made in the plan menu also. The following information must be completed for menu items that are time temperature controlled for safety. The temperature of all TCS foods will be checked using a properly calibrated thermometer upon receipt of the catered foods at the serving site and recorded along with the time of the delivery. If meals are individually packaged, select Representative Meal, measure and record the temperature of each time or temperature controlled for safety food along with the time of the delivery. At the time of delivery, record the time the food was received from the food production site. Upon receipt of the food at the serving site, check the actual product temperature of the food with the properly calibrated thermometer. If a cold food is not at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or colder, and hot food is not at 135 degrees Fahrenheit or hotter, it should not be accepted and served. Food should never be served unless the proper temperatures show it is safe to eat. In summary, the time and temperatures recorded in this column should be recorded for all time temperature controlled for safety foods, accepted and served to students. In Section 2, enter name of the school, manager signature, and date of meal service. The signature indicates that the manager or person in charge has fully reviewed the meal planning, production, and service, and is satisfied with the accuracy of the information. You may need to add a line for the caterer to sign daily. In Section 3, record the total number of student meals planned at the time you complete column 9A and prior to ordering food. Remember that the amounts of food planned for student reimbursable meals must be consistent with the number of reimbursable meals planned in Section 3. For example, if you are planning 335 reimbursable student meals, you cannot plan more than this number of total milks. Likewise, you would not plan more than 670 servings of grains if students are only allowed to take 2 servings. You may plan less than these amounts if students participate in offer versus serve and often decline some menu items. Remember to plan and order reasonable amounts of menu items to avoid excessive leftovers. After the meal service, in Section 4, record the total number of students served, indicating the meal pattern used, such as K through 5, 6 through 8, K through 8, or 9 through 12. Indicate the number of child nutrition meals, if any, other adult meals purchased, adding all columns to determine the total meals served. Check if students participate in offer versus serve, and indicate grade levels implementing offer versus serve. Check that water is available at meal service. In Section 5, the personnel information and these 5 items support your daily HACCP plan. Each should be checked if in place. Note any corrective action taken if you were unable to check that all were in place. Healthy. Are all employees who are handling and serving foods healthy? If an individual is sick, she or he should not be handling exposed food, single-use articles, cleaned and sanitized dishware and equipment, and clean linens. Clean appearance. Are employees properly dressed according to the food safety standards outlined in 2-4, prerequisite programs? Washing hands. Are employees properly washing their hands with warm water, soap, and drying? No bare hand contact. Employees should not be handling cooked or ready-to-eat foods with their bare hands. They should use tongs, utensils, deli tissue, or single-use gloves. Thermometers checked and calibrated if needed. Are thermometers checked for accuracy daily and calibrated if needed? Calibration is the process of verifying the accuracy of a thermometer. Thermocouples do not require calibration. If using one, make a notation of NA or not applicable. From the menu items written in Section 1, list by meal component the foods to be served. Include descriptive information about each product to assure an accurate nutrient analysis. For example, sweetened, reduced fat, fat-free, diced, sliced, fresh, frozen, etc. Identify whole wheat products with WW and whole grain products with WG. Remember to specify the various milk varieties the same way that you list any other menu item. Include condiments with the serving size, for example, ketchup, 9-gram packet, and description of dressings such as ranch, fat-free, reduced fat, etc. Items added on the day of service would be considered a menu substitution, since the original planned amounts would be adjusted to accommodate this last-minute addition. If any menu items are substituted on the day of meal service, draw a line through the menu item that will not be served, and list the substituted menu item in this section. Complete columns 7 through 12 for the menu substitution. In Section 7, enter the amount of meal pattern contribution for each menu item using the units provided. Meal components are different for breakfast and lunch, requiring the use of different production records for each meal. For example, 2-ounce meat or meat alternate, 1-ounce equivalent of grain, half cup fruit, half cup vegetable, 1 cup milk. Remember that the meal pattern contribution may be different than the actual weight or measure of the portion size. For column 8, enter the actual portion size of each menu item. Portion size is the amount of food expected to be on the tray or plate. Remember that the portion size must be in measurable units such as each, cup, ounce, etc. This information can be obtained from the USDA Food Buying Guide, Child Nutrition Labels, USDA Food Fact Sheets, or recipes. Check the portion size by measuring or weighing the menu item. If the portion size is inadequate, contact your caterer. Use accurate measuring cups and an ounce scale for weighing menu items to help you document that you are receiving an adequate amount for the meal components. In Section 9A, enter the number of portions or servings ordered for each menu item. For Section 9B, the caterer must provide the bulk quantity of the amounts of each menu item prepared and delivered for the meal. For example, 5 number 10 cans of peas, 30 pounds of ground beef for spaghetti, 15 pounds of carrot sticks. Merely recording number of servings or portions is not sufficient to show that the amount of food was adequate for the meal pattern requirements. If the caterer is recording the amount of food prepared on a delivery ticket, it does not need to be recorded in column 10 of the production record. However, the delivery ticket must be attached to the daily production record before filing. In Section 9C, enter the number of portions or servings received from the caterer for each menu item. In column 10A, record the number of portions or servings served to students as part of reimbursable meals. In the next column, record the number of portions or servings of each menu item served for adult-priced meals or served to adults, including child nutrition employees. And then enter the number of servings of each menu item that were sold that were not part of a complete reimbursable meal. This information is recorded only if your organization sells serving foods to adults or students that are not part of a reimbursable meal. In column 11A, enter actual portions of each menu or food item left over after all meals have been served. All leftover foods must be discarded after the portions are counted and recorded. No catered foods can be saved for reservice at a later time. All time and temperature controlled for safety or TCS foods must be held for service at safe and appropriate temperatures. It is expected that catered food will be held using appropriate methods to maintain safe temperatures prior to service, and that food temperatures are regularly checked with a properly calibrated thermometer. Catered food should never be allowed to be held for service longer than 4 hours after leaving temperature control. At the end of meal service, record in this column 11B either the time meal service ends if all food items are to be discarded, or the temperature of each TCS menu item prior to discarding the food. If any menu items, such as cartons of milk that are not served, are routinely properly refrigerated and saved for reservice, the temperature of the item must be recorded in column 11B at the end of the meal. Milk that has been served to students cannot be recycled or returned for service to others. The milk might become contaminated and so could potentially become a source of illness for the student to whom the milk is reserved. In column 12, write in special directions, food preparation and serving notes, comments, recipe numbers or recipe information, or other information relative to the menu production for the day's menu, or notes for another day. Now let's talk about the two situations mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, one using only the production record and a second method using the production record along with a delivery ticket. If the transported meal production record is used alone, it may be partially pre-filled by the school food authority or the caterer. Both should agree on the procedure to use. If it starts with the caterer, it may travel daily with the food from the catering operation to the school, where final information is recorded on the day of service. In this case, the caterer records the menu in sections 1 and 6, the contribution to the meal pattern in column 7, the portion size in column 8, and the number of portions ordered in 9A, and the amount of bulk food provided in column 9B in units of pounds, number 10 cans, or each, as a counted number for all menu items. At the school, the transported production record could be completed by the Child Nutrition Administrator, starting with Section 1, Time and Temperature of Delivery. The administrator would record the number of portions received in 9C and the number of portions served to students in 10A, number served to adults in 10B, and a la carte portions served in 10C. The School Food Authority would record the number of portions left over in column 11A. Be sure to include the temperature or the time that meal service ended and leftovers were discarded in 11B. The transported meal production record must be signed by the Child Nutrition Administrator and caterer and filed daily by the School Food Authority. It is recommended that the caterer also keep a copy of the production record on file. If you're using both the transported meal production record and the meal delivery ticket, the School Food Authority will complete all sections of the transported production record, and the caterer will complete the meal delivery ticket. The caterer will complete the meal delivery ticket documenting the contribution to the meal pattern, portion size, quantity of food prepared in units of pounds, number 10 cans, or each. The caterer will record time of preparation of the food and temperature for TCS foods, time of delivery, and temperature of food upon delivery. The School Food Authority can pre-fill some sections of the production record ahead of the day of service, including Section 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, and column 9A. The School Food Authority and caterer must work together to determine who is responsible for documentation of information needed for columns 7 through 8, the contribution to the meal pattern and portion size. Upon delivery of the food on the day of service, record in Section 1 the time and temperature of foods that are time temperature controlled for safety, when delivered, and number of portions received in 9C. Other information from the meal delivery ticket can be transferred to the transported meal production record. However, it is recommended that the meal delivery ticket be attached to the transported meal production record daily. After meal service, record the number of portions served to students in 10A and to adults in 10B, a la carte portions served in 10C, and leftover information in 11A and 11B as shown earlier in this presentation. Remember, the delivery ticket must accompany the meal and be signed by the caterer and the Child Nutrition Administrator. It should be attached to the transported meal production record and filed by the School Food Authority. The caterer should also keep a copy of the meal delivery ticket on file. When a school's central kitchen is catering another site where meals are claimed for reimbursement, this may be another school or an early college site. Both the daily meal production record and transported meal production record can be used to document reimbursable meals for proper claiming. If meals are claimed at the catered site, such as an early college, then a transported meal production record should be completed daily for that site. The transported meal production record could travel with the food to the catered site. Often, child nutrition employees are delivering the food to these sites anyway, and can complete the information required on this production record. If the school is catering a non-school site, such as a daycare center, then the meal delivery ticket may be sufficient if the meals are not claimed for reimbursement by the School Food Authority. In both situations above, the production kitchen would record information about the catered food in 3 locations on the usual daily meal production record kept for the production site. 1 in column 11C, include in the total servings plan to offer the number of servings planned to offer at the catered site. 2 in column 15, include the number of servings of each menu item that were served at the catered site as non-reimbursable servings at the production kitchen. And 3 in section 4, record the number of catered meals for that day. At this point, the food to be transported are transferred from the production record at the production site to the transported meals production record for the catered site if the meals are being claimed for reimbursement. You should follow the instructions presented earlier in this presentation for proper completion of the transported meals production record for the receiving site. If signatures are needed for the transported meals, the school may add signature lines to the transported meal production record. And now let's review what you've learned.